The previous basket is under review.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Stats by Will and Jim. Here, a podcast under the Basket Under Review umbrella. We're thrilled to be talking stats, college hoops with you folks. It's kind of our focus, hence the name. Getting into the numbers, digging into that. I'm Jim Root, your host, joined by Will Warren and his brilliant college basketball mind. If you have not yet, please check out the Discord. Join in the discussion there. Check out all the writing that's on basketunderreview.com. Check out the Burp, the Basket Under Review podcast, the sister podcast to what we have going here. All kinds of great stuff there under Trilly Donovan's purview. Our topic today, Will, is the 10 teams who missed the 2025 NCAA tournament that we think are most likely to make it in 2026. So we had a lot to think about, a lot of different ways to go here. But before we get into all of that, how are you feeling? Are you ready to rock a new week here? I know we had a little video snafu last week, but I think we solved that. So I apologize for leaving you on an island.
Yeah, feeling great, man. First off, we're going to see about the brilliant, beautiful mind in Jeopardy. I put in our little channel, I think I'm either finish first or a very, very distant third. And I truly don't know which is more likely. So I'm looking forward to peeling back the onion there. But no, looking forward to it. This is a fun prompt, very similar to, as we discussed, the NFL's, what is it, 4 teams in, 4 teams out every year? 5 teams in,
yeah,
5
4
teams
or 5
out?
or teams that missed the playoffs.
I remember it was 5 and then it was 4.
Okay.
So I'm not sure when that changed. But there's the point being the same teams don't make the tournament every year.
Exactly. And a good little plug from you there on the Jeopardy episodes that are going to be coming from Basket Under Review. You can watch some trivia. We've got some Basket Under Review folks internal participating. We've got some external folks, Matt Norlander, Greg Waddell from Sleepers Media. So definitely a good mix there of internal, external, some fun trivia competition with Russ, the host who has been on Three Man Weave. If anyone's familiar with the Jeopardy episodes we've done at Three Man Weave, it will be very similar, although maybe even better graphics, presentation, etc. So we have upgraded there. Great plug from Mr. Warren. Well, we got to start with the stat of the day. And my question I posed to you today.
Practice.
Yeah, exactly. Which Power 5 teams raised their efficiency margin most from the start of last season to the end? So from November 4th, the opening Ken Palm rankings, to the end of the season, only Power 5 teams, which ones raised their ceiling the most. We'll do the other side of it real quick too afterwards, but we'll start with the teams that improved.
All right, how many do you want? Top 2?
I have 3. I have 7 written down, but 3 was really what I was aiming for.
Okay, so this is like trivia where it's like you get any 4 of the 7.
Yeah, I'd be thrilled to hear it.
I'm Duke and Florida will be 2 of them.
You have 1 and number 2. Florida was 1, Duke was 2, which for those listening, Duke was number 2 in the preseason rankings. That's how much better they still got from a margin standpoint. So a great poll by you there, Will.
Let me think this one through. I'm going to say Maryland.
Maryland was number 5, so you are right in the mix again. We've got a couple other Big Ten teams and one that made a rather important coaching change from the prior 2 years.
Oh, Louisville.
Louisville's number
there you
6.
Go. That's one.
Yep. So they
Big
took
Ten
a big
teams.
Jump.
I'm going to guess. Oh man. I don't think it was Michigan, was it? Was it Michigan?
It was not Michigan.
Michigan State?
Michigan State was number 3. So we've got Florida, Duke, Michigan.
That's what
State.
I was thinking Michigan could not have been that bad off in preseason just because there's some program rating stuff baked in.
Yep. Michigan State really rose to a level I don't think many people expected, but Wisconsin was number 4 and Mizzou, my alma mater, number 7.
Okay.
That was the top 7. You got the other 5. So a golf clap to you there, sir. Quickly.
Thank you. That tracks Mizzou a little. Actually, that tracks. What was the other one that I missed?
Wisconsin, actually.
That is surprising.
Yeah.
For some reason, I feel like they're perennially like 29th preseason.
And they figured something. John Tonje being a complete shocker All-American, I think was a rather large part of that ascension. On the other end, which Power 5 teams fell the most? There was a clear bottom 3 here. I only wrote down 4 because the 4th one was pretty far off. Number 1 I'm hoping you can remember one team that just went off the rails, and then we'll see if you can get the other two.
I don't think this is it. Kansas, I'm sure, is close to the top of this unfortunate list.
It was not Kansas. I will say that all of these teams were like legitimately really bad, and that's
Okay.
part of why they cratered so much.
God, I gotta think about who really sucked last year.
There was a coaching retirement for the first one.
Oh, Miami.
Yep.
Okay.
Miami, they
were so bad. I forgot they played last year.
I think most Miami fans are kind of wishing that everybody would forget as well. But yeah, they were the furthest drop off from anybody in the entire Division One. They plummeted.
Okay.
Then we've got
that tracks.
Then we've got one coach that got fired at the end of the season, and another that has been well documented or pretty highly documented as not having great NIL resources. Those are my hints to you.
Ooh. Coach who got fired.
Surprising firing for some. That's how I'll put it.
Oklahoma State?
Not Oklahoma State.
Okay. And you said NIL, so it's not Providence.
Not Providence, but you're in the right conference there.
Okay. Oh. Seton Hall.
Seton Hall really plummeted. Yep. And then the last one is the coaching change one. And I say surprising because they had some recent success that may have earned the coach more security, perhaps at another location.
What region of the United States are they in?
The East Coast, the Atlantic Coast, if you will.
Okay. The problem is is it NC State?
It is NC State. Firing.
Because I was like, I don't think Syracuse was that far off their preseason. They were bad, but they weren't that far off preseason.
Yep. And then
I was like, was Boston College bad? I don't remember.
Yeah.
So okay, that tracks.
And Virginia Tech was the next closest, but their drop was nowhere near the other three. So those Miami, Florida, Seton Hall, NC State, you are the podium for worst performance relative to preseason expectations. But okay, let's move towards our prompt for this week. Quickly before we do, I want to give a shout out to Home Field, the best place to get your college sports apparel for the upcoming college football and college basketball seasons. We got all kinds of unique logos, particularly some really special retro ones, and a bevy of amazing, comfortable gear. College football kicks off soon, so you got to check out their 2025 football boxes. My fingers kind of hovering over the Mizzou box. It's some really lovely gear. They got a lot of different schools for that. Lots of stuff going for their kickoff. And if you want to get in on the special, you can use the promo code BURNER15 to get 15% off your first purchase. Yes, we've got a promo code now. It's not just a read, it is a full-on promo code. We are very aligned with Home Field. I am a big wearer of Home Field apparel. So check that out. Homefieldapparel.com. Wear one for the team. Okay, well, so the premise here, 10 teams that missed in 2025 but made it in 2026. I did a little bit of research. I know it's shocking, but I did a little background work. Over the last 3 tournaments, we've had 14, 13, and 17 at-large caliber teams turnover each year. So we're doing 10. There should be 10, at least 10 per year.
I am surprised.
I am too. As I went through
Really?
it. Yeah. And sometimes it's a team that made it in 2023 and skipped 24, made it 25. But yes, we've got quite a few. In 2025, 2 of the at-large teams got auto bids, but I'm counting Memphis and VCU, and 1 in 2023. Here's another one that really shocked me, Will, and that's my hint to you on a mini trivia. How many of those 44 teams had a first-year coach? So somebody that, really turned the roster over or turned the program over.
Turned it over and missed or got it?
How many of the 44 new teams, the new ones to make it, were under a first-year coach making it in year 1?
I'm going to guess 12.
Only 8. I would have guessed like 15,
Okay.
I think. I would have been way high on that question.
Interesting.
And none of them were in 2024. So it was, somebody like Arkansas last year, Mizzou in 2023, which as we look forward to the 10 that I have lined up here, I've got some coaching changes involved, and I'm hoping that we'll see a few more than 8 out of 44. But all right, let's get into the prompt with that little background set here. Will, who did you have as your most likely team that missed in 2025 to make it in 2026?
Well, I think this is actually going to fall under two of your categories. One, a team who had really good success 2 tournaments ago, and two, a team with a new head coach. It's NC State. I think that this is a pretty confident bet. I feel like if we got to next tournament and NC State wasn't in it, I mean, if you were to simulate that out, let's say, what would you say? You would feel that would happen like 1 out of every 10 simulations?
I would be very shocked. Yes, they were also my
Yeah,
number
like I'm
one, so I'm
pretty
with you.
stunned.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hilarious roster, right? Like any team with Darian Williams on it is going to win games. Any team with Arsenault on it is going to have a really strong floor in terms of wing defense. I don't think those two are for debate. And Will Wade is a really good coach. When he was at LSU, I did kind of think he was more of a recruiter than a tactician, and I think we'll still have to see on the latter. Back at a bigger job. But I thought he took great strides as a tactician the last couple of years at McNeese. The triple switch PNR defense really turned things around for them on that end of the court, which to his credit, he kind of, I wouldn't say invented, but really popularized his final year at LSU. That team was so much better defensively than any of the three preceding. And it felt like he kind of got back to his roots a little bit from his VCU and UTC days. So I'm going to remain unconvinced that they'll rebound very well. Like, I don't love that aspect of it. And there could be some rim protection problems. Well, I mean, for one, there's not like a ton of teams in the ACC that are well suited to exploit that. And two, the fact that they can't rebound has not really stopped Will Wade before. He had a couple of LSU teams that were quite poor at it, and they were perfectly fine. Both of them made the tournament with ease. So, my thought is that this could be like one of his more chaotic sides on that end of the court. But chaos and Will Wade generally work out pretty well as a marriage. And when when he was hired, my instant thought was, okay, that's next year's 6 seed. And I kind of feel like that's the average expectation of people is about a 6 seed. So yeah, I feel pretty good about them making the field.
Yeah, 100% agree. All around there, especially like the tactician versus recruiter point. I was thinking, oh, he just kind of overwhelmed the Southland with talent because he was able to get so much of it with his DIY NIL, as our overlord Trilly refers to it as. But even just looking back, like he had McNeese hold Alabama to the slowest game they played all season. Like there was some real distinct game planning aspects that I think were smart and really helped them succeed. For each team I went through Evan Mia's roster outlook tool and figured out the range of roster talent that he's got. He's got NC State in a 7 to 21st range. So basically what it says is
Oh,
a team with this roster would typically be ranked between here and here before any adjustments for coach, before any adjustments for recent program history, schedule, et cetera, what have you. But so there's a lot of teams that I have that I was surprised at how high the roster graded out. But we'll see how that all bears out. Bart Torvik has NC State 39th right now. I think Will and I are both more bullish than that.
yeah, that's too low. And one thing I will note, I did need to double or triple check this, but I'm pretty sure this is accurate. Last 5 tournaments, we've had at least one team who didn't make the tournament the year before end up a 2 through 4 seed. So if that holds, somebody's going to have to do it. I would wager NC State is the most likely.
Yes, I think there's a few other candidates, and we'll touch on them here. But yeah, I'm looking back, trying to figure out. Yeah, like St. John's got a 2 seed after missing the tournament. Michigan got what were they, a 5 seed? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, some really really high teams that could jump in. So okay, we are in agreement on the number 1 team. We'll go right back to you for number 2. Who else did you have?
We might be in agreement for number 2 here too. I have Iowa.
We sure are.
Which seems to be a controversial team amongst one specific fan base, which well, for one, I'm glad the rivalry is back. I thought the Iowa-Illinois rivalry died off for a bit there. That's got real history and juice to it. Not really football-wise, but like basketball, that means something. And I think that having hate back in that rivalry is a good thing. So if you could have like a Corn Xavier Cincinnati, maybe this is it. But I mean, what do you want me to say? It's Ben McCollum. It's the single best transfer fit in basketball, and Bennett Sturts. I'm not going to say no to it. So I don't think that the fit is going to be as seamless going up another level. Like eventually there will be, a little bit of trouble, a little bit of problems. And I have a hard time, looking at the Iowa roster straight away and being like, oh, I think this is going to be awesome defensively. Like Cam Manyow is quite good in his space, but Drake last year was not a good rim protection team. They got kind of brutalized at the rim by more athletic sides. Now, the system and the aggressiveness on the perimeter made up for it, and they didn't really go for blocks to begin with, which is fine. But if you can get past them on the perimeter, you are probably going to get, a lot of points down low against them. And there's not like a lot of obvious bench options that can help in that regard. But outside of that, like they killed it in the portal. All the Drake guys / Northwest Missouri guys that came over, we all like. Brendan Housen from Kansas State is kind of like plus Mitch Muscari. Alvaro from Roberto Morris. That would have been good.
Yes, the
Robert
Spanish
Morris.
version. I love it.
Let me text that to Andy Toole and see what he thinks. Roberto Morris.
Yeah, I like that.
I'll take the place of Bobby Moe. No, Alvaro, big fan of his. Great two-way player. Really excited to see what he does going up a level. I just think this roster is really stout. There's like 8 guys that I look at, and I'm very comfortable with playing them in the Big Ten. Some of the freshman options seem pretty enticing, like Trey Thompson is really interesting to me. I feel like it's going to be a really good, really solid team. You have a floor-raising coach. You have a coach who can routinely get the very most out of an offense, almost regardless of how much talent he has. And frankly, a coach that did a really good job on defense last year. Drake's defense went crazy underrated because so much of the focus was on Bennett Sturtz offensively. That was a top 40 defense for most of the season, with what I would charitably say as Division II athleticism again. So that's pretty damn good. Like I trust this team. I trust what they're doing. And again, like you mentioned, statistically speaking, one of these teams is likely going to end up a top 4 seed. It wouldn't shock me if it's Iowa.
Yep. It's, you look at it and you say, okay, it's Sturtz, it's McCollum. They were not even in the top 50, Ken Pom at Drake. But I do think the little bit of added depth via the freshman class in the portal and a little bit more offensive talent with Fulgaris and with Housen just gives them that notch up. And I'm sure the lasting memory in everyone's mind is Toppin and Darian Williams eviscerating them in the paint. And that's certainly the concern. They've got to minimize that somehow. But they were the best rebounding team in the entire Missouri Valley on both ends of the court. They were top 30 in offensive and defensive rebound rate. And I know the personnel is not like Big Ten caliber heft inside, but I think the scheme, how well coached they are with their positional placement, will somewhat make up for that, even in the long slog of a 20-game Big Ten season where they've got to go West Coast to East Coast and everywhere in between. I just trust that their very extreme style, like teams don't want to play that slow. It makes everyone uncomfortable. And then combined with how comfortable they are with it, Sturtz late in the shot clock and the continuity that they've got with McCollum and his coaching, I feel very confident Iowa will be in the tournament. Definitely maybe not as high a ceiling as NC State, but just really comfortably going to be a successful team in my eyes.
No, for sure. And like they lost to Texas Tech, but I don't think there's a ton of shame in that. And, to the style aspect, we've kind of known for a long time, or at least thought we've known for a long time, that shortening the game as an underdog, having fewer possessions to deal with, longer possessions of your own can kind of tilt the scales a little bit in your favor. And true to that point, in their 3 Tier A games before the Texas Tech fixture, Drake went 3-0. And, not only beat Mizzou, but one that kind of gets forgotten about is beating Vandy by 11 on a neutral court.
Yep.
So I think that's a style that's really going to lend it to just annoying opponents, which that is a good skill to have.
Yep. They are 38th right now in Bart Torvik in the preseason. Again, I think we'd both say a little too low. And the Evan Mia roster range for them is 16th to 24th. If that's how good the roster is, maybe there's a little inflation in some of those numbers, but I trust Ben McCollum as a coach coaching them up.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to steal the mic for number 3, Will, purely because for my number 3 team, it is the subject of Tuesday's top 50 countdown in the 3-man weaves top 50. That is Virginia. team that missed the tournament last season in a bit of a lame duck year with Ron Sanchez coaching after Tony Bennett retired in the preseason. But I just love the assembly of pieces, the way they fit here with Ryan Odom taking over as coach. The roster range per Evan Mia, 17 to 26. They're 35th at Bart Torvik. Both of those would slot them in the tournament. They've got two really big-time European prospects coming over in Thijs de Ritter and Johan Grunlo. Experience in the backcourt, Malik Thomas, who was at an NCAA tournament caliber team at San Francisco. Dallin Hall's played in 2 NCAA tournaments at BYU. There's some shooting from the mid-major ranks. I just like the way it all comes together here and the way it fits the coach's identity as kind of an offensive mastermind in my mind. So, Will, what do you say about Virginia? Did they make your list?
They were number 3 too.
Right.
We are 3 for 3 so far. They kind of feel like ACC Iowa in a way, where the roster just makes a ton of sense for the coach. I mean, there's perimeter shooting galore on this roster. Virginia fans, I think, are going to feel a little bit of culture shock these first few weeks, possibly for good. Like Jakari White being out there, like Thomas being out there. It's to the point that like Sam Lewis is sort of an afterthought on this roster. And Sam Lewis shot 45%, I believe, on 4 3-point attempts per game. Like, if that's your 7th man, that's a really, really strong roster. Now, I think a big question mark here is rim protection and just defense as a whole. Jakari White does not really grade out much as a defender, neither does Dallin Hall. Blake Thomas has in the past. It's going to depend how much he can handle at the wing, and then we just don't know much about how DeRitter or Grunlow are going to translate to the college game defensively. So I had in my notes that they actually could be a bang-on replica of the last Odom team at Utah State. That group finished 16th in offense and 70th in defense. That would translate to 31st in the nation, or about an 8 seed in last year's metrics, which I think feels pretty spot on.
Yep, very much so. Those guys coming from Europe are skilled. Grunlow has the reputation as a shot blocker, but like you said, it is a different game, and there could be a lot of guys hurtling at him because, Jakari White isn't going to keep a ton of people in front. Sam Lewis paid for a bottom 10 defense in the country at Toledo, despite being 6'6", 210. Definite question marks there, but I just think the offensive upside and the coach really, really blend well for a potential tournament team there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see if we continue to go 4 for 4, 5 for 5 down the list here. Will, I will kick it back to you for your number 4 team in this list.
I struggled with who to put at number 4, but I ended up going with upside on one end of the court, and it is a team we've already talked about in a previous show, USC.
Oh, of course you did. That's my number 4 as well.
Oh, hell yeah. So I think this offense is going to suck big ass to watch. I just don't look forward to it. I don't really, to be honest, look forward to much of anything Musselman does offensively until the tournament, when he does become one of the very best one-on-one hunters in all of college basketball. Elite ISO hunting guy. Now, the problem with that is from November to February, ISO basketball is just not my thing that I want to be sitting and watching, especially at the high major level, especially with guys who aren't really plus creators or plus scorers. But, and this is a big one, the defense is probably going to be top 5. I think it's the ceiling there is insane. Like Baker Mazzara, I love. It's a very must-coded roster for better and for worse. Like very positionless in that I don't think there's any one guy who is a really amazing scorer, but they have so many answers defensively. And in a conference like the Big Ten, where kind of oddly, we've seen a defensive downturn the last couple of years, the defenses have not shown up the way they really have in the past. It could lead to USC stealing a lot of close games and sort of solidifying themselves as a surprise Big Ten contender.
Yeah, you've got the interesting schedule part of it where they've got the advantage of teams coming all the way west in Big Ten play, but the disadvantage of having to travel very far east. But I'm with you on just the talent of this roster. I think Rodney Rice and Chad Baker Mazzara is a great 2-pronged attack on the ball. They did lose Elijah Arenas for likely most of the season to a torn meniscus. And I think if he's able to come back, I don't see why he wouldn't, because he's probably not going to be a 4-year player anyways. But that is one out that they lose without having a big time talented top 10 recruit. But you mentioned the defense, Jacob Kofi, Amarian Dickerson, two guys that we both think are going to be shut down, lockdown type guys, even at this level. Really looking forward to them meshing. And he went pretty heavy pick and roll last year, top 20 pick and roll rate in the country with Des Claude playing point guard. And as much as Rodney Rice and Chad Maker-Mazzara are not point guards, I'd say they're closer than Desmond Claude is. And they've got a little more 3-point or potential to their game. It's not just downhill. It's not just drive into gaps that might not be there and lower your head. So I think it could be, as you said, a little bit ugly offensively without a true lead guard, unless Jordan Marsh is going to play a ton. But there's switchability, there's depth, there's optionality with the lineups, and I think that's going to end up bearing out well for them. The roster range, again, some of these, the fact that they're all high makes me think that there's inflation. People will pick that up as this pod is going on. But 10th through 22nd, and that was excluding Arenas. So I was pretty surprised how high that was. And then Bart Torvik has USC 25th. So definitely some consensus there among the computers that this team could be very good.
Yeah, and again, can't wait to see Gabe Dines play some minutes.
Yes, the natural curiosity of was 7-3 at Youngstown. He's listed at 7-5 now in LA. Debatable of the
He'll be a New York 7-7 next year.
That's right. Just keep on growing. Keep on growing. Okay, number 5 on the list, and a teaser for people that are still listening. Hopefully everybody is still listening. We did discuss before we got on the air that, well, we did differ at about the 6th spot. We had a fork in the road on our lists. So it's not going to go 10 for 10. I promise you, listeners, we will have some some different philosophy coming up here soon. But who did you go with at number 5, Will?
Against my best judgment, Ohio State.
Okay. I have them 6th, so we're different.
Oh, finally. So remind me, Jake Diebler was 18th out of 18 in your Big Ten coach ranks.
Yeah, it felt like kind of defaulty to put him down there with only 1 year and a non-tournament and some bad close game performance, whether that's luck or not. But yes, he was number 18.
I don't feel like that's unfair. Like, I don't think of Diebler as a terribly good coach. I think we're all in agreement. He got the job from 3-point variance. And last year's hot start was pretty much entirely 3-point variance. And they came back to earth and looked like an NIT team the rest of the way. But they are going to be quite bad on defense. I don't think they're going to be able to rebound. But Thornton, Mobley, the guard shot creation overall is really, really impressive. There is a reasonable path, even with like the built-in negative of the Diebler quote-unquote system, which is basically the Holtman system, where it's really not that efficient. Like, there's a ton of mid-range pull-ups. Ohio State has consistently, the last 3-4 years, had one of the highest mid-range rates, not just in Power Fives, but for the entire country. And unless you're hitting those at like 44, 45%, that kind of puts a cap on how good of an offense you can have. That being said, you look at last year's offense and defensive splits, there's a reasonable path to them having like the 15th best offense and the 75th best defense. Do you want to know who had those exact ranks last year?
Ohio State.
The 8 seed UConn Huskies at 32nd overall.
Okay.
Do you want to know who is 16th and 62nd? 9 seed Baylor. If Ohio State is just normal bad on defense, we're not asking for much here. Just normal bad and like really good offensively, as really should be expected given the offensive talent. And again, the shot creation at guard on this roster, along with some of the other additions they made that I liked. You really should be in the tournament. Like, if you miss it with this roster, it should be an immediate firing. I'm sorry. Like, this is more than enough talent to get in, and really more than enough talent to do a little damage.
Yeah, the offense could be great with the bigs they brought in, Christoph Tilley and Brandon Noel from the mid-major ranks, guys that were super productive and have plenty of skill, can kind of step out to the 3-point line and hit shots, open up the floor, decent passers as well to go with the guards that you discussed. But yes, there's definitely some shot selection questions. And as amazing as Bruce Thornton was on mid-range jumpers, like over 50%, the team as a whole still shot 31% on mid-range twos per CVB Analytics.
Yeah. See, that's just like, that's so bad. And I think we're both proponents of stars taking mid-range jumpers. We are not proponents of like Devin Royal taking them.
No, we're not. He needs to be bullying his way to the rim. That's the goal. Yeah, 78th percentile in frequency on mid-range jumpers. I actually was thinking it was a little higher. So hey, good to have the data to check me on that. But yeah, when you're ranking the 17th percentile in make percentage on those, it does cut you at the knees a little bit. And when also defensive questions just completely reign here. I'm not sure who Mobley can keep in front on the perimeter. I think Noel and Tilly is even way more questionable than the DeRitter Grinlow interior combo that Virginia has. So they've got some figuring out to do on that end. And yeah, some of the close game stuff last year, Luck or Diebler, we're going to maybe find out and get a better sense of that this year.
And like, I guess, would you say that Big Josh from Baylor is like on paper the best rim protector?
Yes, if the knee is working, but even
That's the
he's not
thing.
like a
Like,
great shot blocker. I don't know.
no, he's fine. He's better than Noel or Tilly, but that's my problem is you don't really have a guard stopper. Thornton's not terrible at it, but that's not his strength, and it kind of can't be his strength because they need him to play, 36, 37 minutes a game. And like Devin Royal, I don't really rate as an amazing defender either. So
Yeah, I
that's
don't
my
think
problem is like
Matthew
they're gonna
Grujicic is coming from as a 18 year, just barely turned 18 Euro freshman is going to be the stopper.
Gabe Cups. Gabe Cups is
Oh
finally coming through,
God.
baby. But I will say this: while they're fifth on my list, they could be fifth in all of college basketball for watchability. They are going to play in a lot of like 92 to 87 games.
Yes. So that used to be the Iowa go-to in the Big Ten, and now they've completely changed styles with Fran McCaffrey leaving. But Ohio State could feed us that. The most shocking stuff for me was looking at the projections with Ohio State. The Evan Mia
Mhm.
roster range is top 5. I don't know
Yeah,
if
2 to 7, right?
yes, that's without Ojanwana in there. It seems very tilted towards the offensive end, and maybe there's some duplicative stuff. And I'm sure Evan's going to have some tweaks before his actual rankings come out. But that was eye opening. But even at Bart Torvik, this team is 19th. They're top 20. So there's a lot of love from the computers, and perhaps we are cutting too much on Debo, or this is an instance where having human subjectivity is actually helpful to pull them down a little bit. But they definitely got a chance to make the tournament. That's for sure. Okay. Number 5 on my list. I'm gonna go with this one. Indiana, another top 10 or another Big Ten team, missed the tournament last year. Mike Woodson out the door. Coming in this year, 42nd at Bart Torvik, 21 to 32nd in the Evan Mia roster ranking. It is also a roster that tilts heavily offense. Just coming off the Ohio State discussion, you're going to hear a lot of similar points. There's a lot of shooting on this roster between DeVries, Dorn, and Wilkerson. That's 3 of the most efficient high-volume shooters you're going to find. We've got a couple others in Miles and Enright and Drake that can knock down some shots. Bailey's a skilled big man. But boy, there's a question around the rim and rebounding. And I know that's been a DeVries constant with building solid defenses, but it's going to be really tough to do it with this personnel, Will. And is the offense going to score quite enough? We'll see. We've got the 2 little data points at this point of them, or the couple points of their international tour where they played Mega Super Bet and got down 20 twice, came back to win twice. We'll see if that's a trend for the roster going forward. But another one that tilts offense with a new coach. What say you here on the Hoosiers?
It's a very DeVries roster, like extraordinarily so. Like tons of shooting. Like it seems like everybody on the roster, save for a couple of guys, is 6'4" to 6'8". So very switchable. There's a clear identity here. They're gonna like take a lot of threes. It'll be fun to watch. Also, I got to say, Mega Superbet not being a U.S. sports book is an amazing upset. I can't believe that. Like, how is that not a company that's put out 4 ads during like Packers Bears at 4:30 on a Sunday?
With their pink jerseys too, that would really stand out with the
Yeah,
color scheme. Let's get them
yeah.
out
Kevin
there.
Hart would for sure advertise
Yes, he
for a
would.
Mega Superbet,
Yes, he would.
like nonstop. No, I really like the idea. This is another really watchable team where it's like Conaway and Wilkerson, I think, is going to be an awesome veteran backcourt. Uh, Big Tucker, I mean, I really hope he holds up health wise. I I know that like you can't predict that going up. Last couple of years he's just had some issues. Obviously, last year more so than the year before. Defensively, I do think it's going to be kind of ugly. I'm not sure who the rim protector is here. I'm not really sure who the perimeter stopper is here. I mean, Connerway and Wilkerson are both tough as nails and really annoying to play against, but this is a big leap up in competition. Connerway was amazing down the stretch of last season, so I think of him a little more highly in that regard. But by the same token, you need those guys to play a lot of minutes, so they can't go too hard in the defensive end unless they get into foul trouble. I just kind of wonder almost if this is like lesser Virginia in a way, like kind of the Utah State mold actually, but with a little lower floor and upside.
So Darian DeVries going from West Virginia to Lesser Virginia. That Will Warren has it first there.
Good take,
But
good
yes, Sam Alexis, who became the fifth big on the national champion Florida Gators, is a very, very crucial player here. Whether he can hold down the glass and provide a little bit of rim protection, that is massively important because there just simply isn't another option. It's not Reed Bailey's game. Davidson's defense was bad when Sean Logan was hurt, and he had to be the center anchor. There's nobody else to go to. I don't see where they build the defense from in the interior, but the offense could be good enough. The coach could be good enough to get Indiana back in the big dance. I'm sure Hoosier hopeful are hopeful to see that. And they also liked hearing Will say that it will be fun to watch because I'm not sure it always was under Mr. Woodson.
Like you don't want to watch the Mike Woodson shit anymore. So no apologies to Mike Woodson if he's listening. Or sorry, apologies to Mike Woodson if he's listening.
Oh, I thought you were starting to beef.
Yeah. Oh, no. No beef with him. I think he would beat me up. I had Indiana 7th on my list.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, they were on there. I'm a little less rosy on them than most. But I also think by the same token, that's a team that I can see where I would be wrong. Like if the defense is just not an issue, or alternately, if they get really hot on opponent 3-point luck, which does happen to a few teams every year, there's like a real chance they're a top 20 team.
Yeah.
And we all kind of look foolish.
Yeah,
but
it's possible.
Yeah, there's also the chance where the offense doesn't completely come together and the defense sucks, and this is a bubble team the whole way.
Okay, so who is your number 6, if I'm listening correctly? I believe we've gotten your 1 through 5, and now your 7 revealed with Indiana. Who are we looking at for number 6?
I would not put this team as higher than Indiana in a top 50. I would simply say that they are more likely to make it by way of their schedule and by way of their reputation, and also by way of just, frankly, having a more agreeable floor on defense. It's Boise State. Leon Rice, simple formula for me, and nobody is talking about this team. I have not heard a single show, single podcast, single article, anything about them, because I think when a team is very transfer heavy or has a new coach, we have a reason to talk about them. When a team that was pretty good returns 3 starters and most of their rotation and adds 2 P5 starters and is just kind of boring, we don't think about them. It's kind of the Northwestern formula from seasons past. Leon Rice, great floor racing coach. I think the defense is going to be really good again, probably top 40. The Boise thing for me is that pretty much every year is just a 50-50 coin flip on if they're going to get in or not on night one, and it seems to last that way the whole season. So I'm betting this time that it lands in their favor.
Yeah, this is one I had kind of in like an honorable mention-y ish. They're 49th at Bartorvik. I was just doing the Evan Mia exercise right now to see what their roster range is. It's loading. 13 to 27. So I do think a lot of these are inflated.
13 to 27.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure this. Oh no, wait, I have Dagenhart selected still.
Okay.
Excluding him and Cardenas too. Yeah, okay. The 2 best players from last year that are no longer. All right, we're not 66 to 73. That feels a lot more correct. At least for the roster, you give them a bump up for what Leon Rice typically does on the coaching side of things. Yeah, to your point, they're just always in the mix. Even last offseason, it's like, they lost in the first round of the tournament in 2024. Are they really going to be, this annoying thorn in the side that gets back in 2025? And they didn't quite make it, but it was a coin flip again. They were right on the cusp. I think they had some big supporters on Selection Sunday. to potentially do it. And with Buchanan back, Andrews and Fielder coming in, the Pearson Carmichael breakout train has left the station. Big time shooter who emerged halfway through last season. It's certainly possible. And I think the Mountain West is a little more vulnerable than it's been in recent years. Got a little bit of coaching turnover, and maybe everybody figured out the Utah State zone. We'll see. So yeah, Boise absolutely right there in the mix to be one of the teams that does this and accomplishes this feat.
Can I give you a little fun side bet that could turn into a board bet?
Absolutely.
Boise to finish higher than Washington this year in KenPom.
I love that you just proposed that, because number 7 on my list is Washington. Yeah,
Is Washington. Let's go.
That's well done, folks. That is not pre-planned. That is just chemistry of the hosts overflowing onto the microphone right there. All right. So you make the case, and I will give a little bit of a Washington rebuttal since I've got them listed here.
I like what Washington has done. They would be an honorable mention. The reason why I'd have Boise higher here is just the defense is going to be a lot better than anything Washington's probably going to offer. I think Washington's front court is kind of bad defensively, I would politely say. Obviously, the shot creation Washington has, nothing Boise can do can match that. I think the Peterson, Claude, Yates, like 1-2-3 scoring combo, really damn good. But a couple of factors here that matter to me and why I wouldn't put Washington quite as high. I need Danny Sprinkle to prove that the system he runs is not just out-athleting, because I got a little bit of that. I got a whiff of that with Montana State, where they just they're a little bit stronger, just burlier, better, nastier, bigger, period, than the other teams in the Big Sky when Sprinkle was there. And then when you got to the tournament,
it was ugly.
It was ugly. When they would play anybody above about 70th in KenPom, it was ugly. We kind of got a little bit of that last year, where Washington just, like, the motor never started going for them. I mean, I guess you would say, I mean, obviously they beat Maryland at home, which was very good, and beating Colorado State in a neutral is pretty solid. But looking just quickly at the KenPom page, it looks like about 2-12 against Tier A opponents. And, when you go 11-6 in all other games, that kind of hints to me you struggle to get your system to work against better competition. And, like, they got smoked by MSU, smoked by Michigan, demolished by not a great USC team. And, like, Wisconsin, that's more understandable. But I basically like what they have offensively. I think there's a lot of upside there and a lot of potential. Totally understand that aspect of it. But I do kind of wonder if there's a little bit of shiny new toy aspect to Washington.
Yeah, the roster especially. And you mentioned them getting smashed by USC. Well, they said, if we can't beat them, let's get them, and brought Desmond Claude and Wesley Yates over. Yates, a boomerang, or a Marfo, for those that prefer that term, coming back to Washington. The front court, you're almost frighteningly reliant on Frank Kepnang to stay healthy, to give them like a true rim protector, vertical threat. I love Hannes Steinbach, the German edition, but he will have some defensive question marks, as will Jacob Obnasovic, as I think does Lathan Somerville. He's big, but not crazy laterally mobile. So I think they're going to need Kepnang to stay healthy for that interior defense to hold up. Perimeter defense could be decent. I like Mandaquit, who played a lot for the FIBA U19 World Cup team this summer. Claude, Yates at least have size on the wing. Zoom Diallo is a pretty good defender. But yeah, it's a lot of pieces thrown into the sandbox here, and Danny Sprinkle has to figure out how to build a castle out of it and not just have it be kind of a mess. So it's options, it's talent, it's upside, but it's something that they have to figure out. Do you want to guess where their roster range was? And I'm going to go back and double check these, because I wonder if some were like Boise, where some returners got selected when they shouldn't have been.
Based on the pure accumulation of talent, I'm going to guess 13-21.
You're right there, 10-22. What a guess!
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to read.
I think just because they have so many players with like success somewhere previously, or like we're the best player on their team or whatever, it's kind of like the Musselman accumulation model, actually.
Yep.
I feel that might be the case. So, and at Torvik, what are they?
They are, sorry, I have it, 48th.
Okay, see, that feels more fair.
Yep, a team that is going to be in the tournament mix, but has to tilt it towards the right end of outcomes to get there. I think that's generally what Washington fans are probably expecting and what I expect as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we should, by my count, each have 3 teams left here. Will, where did you go for number 8 on your list?
This one's a little off the board, or at least, at large wise, but I think the case can happen. It's really going to depend on the strength of the conference. The South Florida Bulls,
Ooh, I love
lot of
it.
returning
I
talent.
love it.
Lot of talent, period, man. This is a really, really strong roster for their historical standard. I am really interested to see what Hodgson can do with all of these new pieces. It's kind of repeating the Arkansas State formula a little bit, where really both years the non-conference performance was just okay, but by the time they got to conference play, it really felt like they found their stride. And I wonder if that's going to happen here, where maybe they drop one or two they shouldn't in non-con. And truth be told, the front court offense really does worry me. Like Isaiah Nelson and Damian Collins together, kind of frightening spacing wise. I mean, Wes Enos and Pinion together is going to be awesome. I think that's a great backcourt, but I worry, like, is that all you have? And that's going to be like a lot that you have to depend on. But by the same token, you can't always get it all done. You can't do everything perfectly. I think the front court defense is going to be great. Devin Hade off the bench for this team is a really fun wing defense piece. And Enos graded out quite well as a guard defender at Lincoln Memorial, All-American at the D2 level. I don't think he's going to struggle to come up athletically. I actually have a little more fear for Elijah Freeman translating to the SEC than I would Enos to the AAC. It's just the difference in speed and athleticism is not quite as severe from LMU to USF as it will be LMU to Auburn. So, and again, I think we're just betting on Hodgson. Period.
Yep.
Like you made the point in our jump seat podcast that you could see Hodgson being one and done, and I could too. The more I've thought about it, like, is there a path to USF finishing, let's say, 55th in Ken Palm, getting the American Auto bid, being a 10 or 11 seed, pulling off an NCAA tournament win, and then suddenly Hodgson is an SEC coach in 9 months? Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't, he's from the Syracuse area, which I think is a heavily rumored potential bounce spot for him, or jump seat spot, with Autry kind of on the potential.
It'll be an ugly day in the Discord when he turns it down.
Ooh, man, that would be rough.
It'll be an ugly day.
Yes. But yeah, South Florida, I mean, they've also had the advantage of maybe not the best Memphis team. So if they're going to have a AAC regular season title on their ledger, that certainly helps I think that sticks in the minds of some of the committee members, even if it may not technically be something on the team sheet. Having that would help. They're 65th in Bart Torvik. Their roster range for Evan Mia, 65th to 71st. So right around there, if you give the coaching bump for Hodgson, which I think we both agree he deserves, this team could be right in the mix and potentially be the best team in the American. I believe a sportsbook, Caesars, just came out with odds to win the league, and South Florida was a slight favorite over Memphis. So that is how some of the computers see it these days.
Let me go. I gotta find. I never remember the guy's name. The Memphis Superfan account on Twitter.
Will GTG.
Yeah, I'll hunt him down and see what he said about that.
Perfect.
I'm sure he's got some really nice things to say about the sportsbook involved.
Definitely. Okay, so I stuck with teams that I think at least have upside to go from P5. I didn't end up hunting outside, and I'm kind of glad Will did. I have Cincinnati next, 32nd at Bart Torvik, a roster range around the 20s. It's really the defense that profiles to be excellent. The offense will continue to have major question marks as long as Wes Miller is in charge and somewhat stubborn with his staff. There's no Marquette hiring Nevada Smith, or Wisconsin hiring Kirk Penny, or Auburn hiring Mike Burgomaster. There's no assistant hire that gets me super pumped that the offense is going to change and suddenly revolutionize. There's Jizzle James drama going on this offseason. Will he be on the roster or not? Yes, but there's a stout defense. I think Mustafa Cham is at least a solid interior defender. They've got some size on the wing. They've got guard defenders that are very stout on the ball with Day Thomas, with James. Sincere Harris coming over from West Virginia is an excellent defender. And it just feels like this is a back against the wall season for Miller. If it doesn't happen this year, it's probably not happening. He probably will end up at a different job. Whether that actually helps Cincinnati make it, or it's more of a there's more pressure and they tumble, we will see. But I do think Cincinnati is at least in the mix to be one of the teams that goes from out to in.
They would have been on my periphery. I Here's some things I think about them. I think top 20 defense, possibly top 15, maybe even top 10 if some things break right. I think about 75th offense feels right, and I think Wes Miller might be writing for Basket Under Review next season, doing some podcasts with us.
Hey, he's welcome on Stats anytime.
He's welcome anytime. I think of him as a smart guy. I just do not think that this is a good marriage, and some marriages just don't work, and that's okay. I will say that if they perform to the expectations I just laid out, like 75th offense, 15th defense, that is probably something like a 10 or 11 seed. And that would actually be the most interesting possible outcome to me, is if they are like just barely in the field or they're a first four participant that doesn't win, what happens? Is that good enough?
Yeah, if they have I guess Jeff Capel made it and then got into the field 64 after winning in the first four. Hubert Davis won in the first four last year and snuck in, that may or may not have saved his job. I think there's differing reports on that. Would Cincinnati fans really be excited about that? How we made it, but we have another year of him? That feels like a big shrug for them.
That's an interesting question, actually, because we have a few Cincy fans in the Discord. I would like to know, what is the season, and we don't say the Ken Palm rank, the seed that you require to change your mind on Wes Miller for 26, 27.
I like that. Not just to be content with bringing him back, but to fully change your mind about he's the guy going forward. That's a really good question. Cincinnati fans, if you listen, let us know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next up for you, Will. 2 teams left.
I did go back to the P5. I readjusted my list after I realized we were so far apart on the back end. But this one, I am actually buying a lot more than I thought I would. I had Miami.
That's my 9 too. Here we go.
Okay, good. So this is strictly a defensive upside buy. The roster itself, I'm not like crazy about, and I guess truth be told, I don't really know much about what Jay Lucas will want to implement. I am assuming something Duke-ish, but that's a lot easier said than done given the talent at hand here. But Drew Washington and Ernest Uday is as powerful a 1-2 guard forward defensive combo as I think just about anybody plucked out of the portal this year. That is crazy good for especially a team that I think finished in the 200s in Ken Palm last year. I just remember it was not good. I mean, like Trey Donaldson, very underrated perimeter defender to me. Like Michigan's defense was a lot better than people recall. Malik Renew, we're going to see what his effort level is this year, but I'm going to wager it's re-intensified. My question with them would be, do you have depth? Which I'm not totally sure you do. And if you do have depth, is it playable depth? It's different to me. Like, guys have to eat minutes. That's the nature of college basketball. But it's different to me if it's productive minutes eating. Like, if you have to play an 8th and 9th man just to steal, like, basically just to steal some extra stamina for Donaldson, Washington, etc., that's not good enough. You got to find somebody off that bench who can be productive enough to sustain you in really what shouldn't be a hard ACC to, be in contention for. Like, not at the top, but for bubble purposes.
Yep. And to the point of this team potentially making the tournament, all other things aside, their schedule is absurd in terms of easiness. Their non-conference schedule is packed with cupcakes. They're clearly trying to accumulate wins in year one and let Jay Lucas ease into things. And I don't know if it was Lucas or Duke or both that made sure that Miami is not even playing Duke in the ACC this year. So you don't have the upside of beating them, but I don't think Jay was beating Shire anyway. So you don't have like the guaranteed loss there. They don't go to the West Coast. They don't have the Stanford Cal trip this year. I mean, it is set up as well as it possibly could be for Lucas to succeed in year one. And I love the top 4 of the roster. And I'm the kind of squinter on the depth that Henderson is a fairly well-regarded freshman. I've loved what I've seen of Dante Allen playing alongside the Boozers for the Night Riders in the AAU. He's just kind of a winner. I am a Mizzou fan. Marcus Allen did some really good things in limited amount of time. I think he's an awesome defender. He's built like a tank, shot 90% at the free throw line. So I think there's a little skill upside there. He went with C.Y. Young, the assistant that recruited him. So there's familiarity. I can see 8 deep here if Malavec, the European, is useful, but I can't get past that. And an injury or two to that top 4 really sinks them. So they're kind of heavily dependent on health and heavily dependent on taking advantage of that schedule. And do they get enough big wins while not playing many big games? That could be what limits them.
Yeah.
Their Bart Torvik rank is 55, and their roster range 10th through 19th. Evan Mia loves the high core of this roster.
Yeah.
So, but I would give them a rather large coaching knock, which I think is fair without having seen anything that Lucas has done, and Duke being just fine without him after he left early during the season last year. Okay, number 10.
I just say it's alarming they let him leave early.
Exactly. Like, I know you want to get going after the portal, and he ended up building a decent roster, but he didn't do all of his work right away. And yeah, if you're a number 1 team in the country, you'd think you want to do everything possible to keep your staff intact, and that was not the case for Duke. Okay, last on the list. Mine might be surprising, so I'm going to go with you first here, Will. I'll let you lead the way.
I mean, mine is really going to be a surprise. So this last one, I just went for what team didn't make it last year that I feel strongest about within their conference. So this is off the board a bit.
We might have gone to the same team then for the same reason.
This is Jackson State.
Okay, I love it.
Jackson State returns 4 starters, first off. Deshaun Ruffin kind of feels like a lock to be the best player in the SWAC this year. He's gone up and down over the years, and I've never been 100% sure of how much I like him or not. But in terms of talent and just pure upside, he is the best thing going in this conference. And especially in a league with a lot more changes than you might think, like several new coaches, a lot of out transfers, a lot of new JUCO guys. The SWAC is always nigh impossible to really figure out, both from a preseason perspective and even in the middle of February, you can find yourself really confused about who is or isn't actually good. But Jack State, strongest floor by a mile. I liked plucking Devin Reeve from Louisiana Tech as a front court piece. Not an amazing player, but a 6th man for a good CUSA squad. And if you're a 6th man for that, you're probably going to be a pretty impactful piece in the SWAC, frankly. Good Southern transfer, a couple of really solid returners on the bench too. This is a team that has night 1 no fewer than 9 good playable options, which matters a lot in the SWAC. And I wanted to shout them out because their highest ever KenPom rank is 217th in the early 2000s. There is a real chance that the talent on this roster can get them to the top 200 for the first time ever. And if so, that's more than worthy of a hat tip. And frankly, more than worthy of getting them out of the first 4 and into just auto bid into the tournament no matter what. So I really like the makeup of them. I'm in on Mo Williams more as a coach than I expected to be. He's been really good too the last 3 years. Jack State, man, I'm looking forward to him.
A little fun fact there. You mentioned potentially cracking the top 200. They are 185th in Bart Torvik in the preseason, closely followed by another fairly loaded roster in the SWAC. Bethune-Cookman has a ton of pieces. I was just trying to go back through SWAC history and try to find the last time that the SWAC representative was not a 16 seed. And I'm currently back in 2015. And that was when, 2015, Texas Southern got a 15 seed. So Jackson State's got a chance to do it. I'm with you that roster is loaded. Getting Ruffin back again, a former top 50 recruit who contributed as a freshman in the SEC. He's not really fair. And Mo Williams has done a really good job there.
I think I also just like them because they're the one SWAC team that generally can shoot, which is not a diss on the SWAC at all. People the other day in our Discord were talking about conferences that should be quote unquote demoted to D2. And my statement on this is, for better or for worse, the SWAC and the MEAC have a very identifiable and unique style of play that is replicated nowhere else in college sports.
It's bomb down the court, get to the rim as much as possible, draw fouls, pressure on defense, and it leads to chaos watching the games. And Jackson State was 4 points away from making the NCAA tournament last year. Lost in the title game to Alabama State, who went on to win the play-in game. So yeah, they are right there. Very curious to see how that ends up. Okay, so you started making a case for a team you just felt good about in their conference. And this was
Mhm.
a default sort of lean to me. I'd rank some other teams higher than this team, but the Big East has such a void after the top four, and really you could say after the top two, that I'm giving Providence a little bit of love here.
Oh!
How about that? How about
Oh,
that?
let's go. Oh, unbelievable.
They're
Kim
58th.
might reactivate Twitter now.
Yeah, hey, well, good. Just to see what gets said. Oh yeah,
Oh.
58th in Bart Torvik, roster range of 39 to 44th, which excludes their international additions that I think Providence fans are somewhat high on. I just don't know what to think after St. John's and UConn. I mean, Marquette, you're really banking on the internal development. Creighton, you're banking on McDermott making Iowa players better at a lot of basketball that isn't offense, and figuring that out. And I think he will. But there's decent talent here. There's depth. If some of the guys actually, so the freshmen translate, Jameer Jones, a big time wing athlete. I think Jason Edwards is going to score a lot and efficiently. Maybe not quite at Devin Carter levels, but somewhere in that vicinity. And Kim English has had good defenses. He has coached good defenses. Last
Mhm.
year just fully collapsed on that end of the court. I think there was some wind out of the sails with Providence with the injuries, and just when they realized it wasn't going well, the wheels came off. Maybe rejuvenated this offseason. We did rank him last in our Big East coaching rankings. So I certainly have some skepticism around Mr. English, but I do believe he's capable of putting together a solid defense. There's athletes, there's size here to potentially get there, as long as the backcourt isn't tiny with Davis and Edwards playing together too often. And just the Big East, I think, is open for a fifth bid to come out of it. Can Providence do it? We'll see. But I ended up slotting him in there. Will, what do you think?
I can see it. I would have had them kind of on the periphery as well. There are two things Kim's defenses they always do well. Defensive rebounding is always a general strength. And for better for like kind of surprisingly have never finished worse than 157th even at GMU and EFG allowed. Even last year's pretty stinky defense, 99th in 2-point percentage given up. So there's always going to be some things like just have to default on and you can't take care of, but like Oswin at center, I do really like. I think of him as, sort of a fledgling piece, but one that makes a lot of sense to me. Cole Hargrove from Drexel, I find really interesting in the same regard as a front court piece. I do kind of wonder if there's a little bit of overcorrection on this side to where Edwards is going to be asked to do almost everything at the guard offensively, and the rest of the game plan is hold the opponent below 60, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I do kind of wonder if Edwards and like maybe Duncan Powell, I guess, are going to have to carry the boatload of scoring, which I guess your mileage is going to vary on that. But there are pieces here, and there is a vision to where I can see it working. Edwards, like you mentioned, we really like. Ryan Mella can see it, can definitely see it. But yeah, the first 3 years of Kim's career, the defense was better than the offense. Last year was the first time that didn't happen. He does generally have an analytically sound structure on that end of the court. Forces a lot of mid-range twos. Forces long possessions, which is nice. And like you mentioned, power vacuum after third or after second in the Big East. Somebody has to be third. I would agree it's most likely Creighton. But is there a world where Providence takes a real step up? Is there a world where, like, Georgetown, for example, has a surprisingly good year, or DePaul, or God forbid, Butler? Like, it can happen. So I can see it. I wouldn't bet on it, but I can definitely envision where it's coming from.
Yep. And just to add, like Villanova is 50th in Bart Torvik, actually ahead of Providence. So perhaps they are the team that steps into that void. I just think someone's going to be in that mix, and slightly above 500 potentially in the Big East will at least get a look on Selection Sunday. But that is it. That's it, Will. That's all I got on my list of 10. A couple other teams in that Bart Torvik range right around at large quality. Nebraska is 44th. SMU's right there. Oklahoma State, TCU, teams that could find their way in the mix after missing the tournament last year. So there's at least plenty of reasons for optimism for teams to find their way into the tournament.
I thought pretty strongly about SMU. I will give you a team well off the radar that I didn't anticipate thinking much about. And then the more I've read into their roster, the more I can kind of see where they're coming from. Is California.
Ooh,
I still remain a big fan of Mark Madsen. And yeah, the NIL sucks. Yeah, this roster, it's not great. But like, I can understand like Camden and Ames together could be really strong scorers. Illich has strong versatility. Petritus, I've always been a fan of.
same.
Like, I I can totally see where this is coming from. There are a couple of things that have to happen for them to work. Like Lee Dort has to finally be a good basketball player. And like, I know that's really mean to say, but it's true. Justin Pippen kind of has to be the same deal where he's just gotta find the extra step. But look, it's the ACC. There's a power vacuum there too after about sixth. It's not hard to find wins. Is it plausible that Cal could be this year's team that's like really about 65th best, but just kind of stumbles their way into the tournament by way of winning a boatload of ACC games? Yeah, like I can totally see it. And lest we forget, Mark Madsen was incredible at Utah Valley not that long ago. I know that that's sort of a job that has recruited its way into really good coaches, but Madsen was the best of them by my eyes and had easily the best against the spread performance his final year. So I can't be out on them just yet, and I feel that the core of something better is there. And again, got really bad shooting luck last year too. So I've got my eye on them.
I like it. I like it. That's one off the radar. I mean, SMU is like one win away from being legitimately in a true bubble conversation. Wake Forest dropped a couple late, but we're right there. The ACC has opportunity as well, just like everything we said about the Big East. It applies to the ACC as well. That's it, folks. Get your optimism up. It is the off season. If you didn't make it last year, you have every chance to make it back this coming season. As we said, more than 10 teams, all three of the last 3 years. The portal era has definitely helped teams turn it over. We might go the opposite way next week, Will, and say talk about the 10 teams we think are most likely to fall out of the NCAA tournament. So we might have to go a little more pessimistic
The
on next
haters
week's.
ball.
Exactly. It really invites some angst from fan bases that can't imagine their teams dropping off that far. But that is potentially what you have to look forward to here, folks, on the Stats by Will and Jim podcast. We appreciate you tuning in this week. We will be back once again, and keep an eye out for everything else that's to come at Basket Under Review, including those Jeopardy competitions that we think will be a real blast for people to watch with the trivia. So join that, check that out, and we will see you again next week.